CHICKEN. Use the code chicken in the shop. CHICKEN. Use the code chicken.
Guys, the Chicken's here, back today with another Boom Beach video. In today's video, guys, we have the complete Warships starter guide. So you guys can be able to start off your Warship season. It applies to every season. It's not specific. Just good general groundwork that you should have going into every Warship season if you do want to be competitive and you do want to finish, at the top of your local leaderboard, or if you're crazy and going for the global leaderboard or anything like that. But first, wanted to let you guys know, everyone that has been using code chicken in the shop, I do appreciate each and every one of you. I'm doing a giveaway tomorrow, $100 worth of gift cards, Apple, Android, whatever you play the game on. We're going to be giving all of those away tomorrow in a stream on the second channel. It's just called The Chicken 2. Make sure you check that out. And yeah, if you want to join, all you got to do is use the code in the shop, and then just let me know in the comments, or send me a screenshot on Twitter, Chicken24, Instagram, Chicken24, or Discord, and links to all that stuff is below. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. Now we have our official hashtag chicken script here that we're going to be reading off of. And yeah, so the first point, guys, let's show you some while we're doing this. Let's do some operation replays, I guess. We got shout out to Icky. Alright, so the first point, guys, is going to be plan beforehand. Before the season starts, have some sort of a plan going into it. Don't just go into the season blind. Make sure that you're checking out either the sneak peeks or have an idea of where you finished the last season, how many keys you're going to have, and kind of base your tech tree around that. So the biggest thing there, obviously, is just to watch the sneak peeks. Just look at the tech tree before, because typically the sneak peeks go out on the Saturday or the Sunday. So you usually have like a day's notice to actually see the tech tree one way or the other, and then kind of plan your attacks from there. So make sure you do that. That makes a huge difference, just to know what's coming up, and you can kind of plan some of your unlocks and have an idea of what you're going to be doing from there. Huge advantage, to people that don't watch YouTube or aren't active in the Reddit or Telegram communities or whatever. Makes a big difference. So definitely make sure you're doing that. And the second thing, now this is kind of this can be extremely difficult, and it's one of those kind of like unfortunate things about Warships, is pushing right away is definitely a big benefit, because you're able to get out in front while other people haven't played the game yet. Say if the season starts and you wait a day to play and to push, you're going to be behind, because you're going to be playing against people that already have stuff unlocked, that already have stuff upgraded. So you're going to be at a disadvantage. So if you can start playing the second that the season starts, and push really hard and go crazy and put like a couple hours into it, that's a massive advantage over most of the player population. So if you're able to do that, now, like where I'm at, it starts at 4 a.m. my time, Eastern time, on Monday morning. So obviously it's not an ideal time to be playing Boom Beach. So not everyone is able to do it just because of that. So if you're able to do it, or if you're crazy enough to get up in the middle of the night and start playing Warships, then you're going to have a massive advantage. So that's definitely important to know. The next one is kind of a general thing. I mean, you want to be familiar with all the troops, and I'm kind of looking at you, Zuka elitists. You want to be familiar with all the troops. You want to know how to use bombardiers. You want to know how to use tanks if you have to. Well, tanks aren't really relevant, but you want to know how to use rifle swarm. You want to know how to use all heavies, like just how the troops are going to maneuver. Especially Bullet. Bullet's a big deal, knowing like all the ins and outs of how he works. Like, for example, if Bullet's taking a lot of damage, he actually shoots faster. So shocking a couple flamethrowers that are on him when he's on an engine room could potentially work against you, because he's going to be, if nothing's hitting him, he shoots slower. He's got a faster fire rate if he's taking more damage. So like things like that, like knowing how to use the troops, like in all instances, really does go a long way. So it's good to be familiar with everything, let alone, this season protos. Likely we're going to see proto troops, or there's going to be a lot of prototype defenses, stuff that isn't always in the game. A lot of that is probably going to be available to us, so it's good to get familiar with, how microwavers work, how doom cannons, whatever, do splash, like things like that. It's good to know how all the stuff works, not just how stuff works in operation maps or on, if you're just clearing like player bases and things like that. It's really good to have kind of a varied amount of knowledge about the game. Just know how everything works. Next point, this is a big one. Understand tech riding versus base riding. I know we use a lot of like terminology in Warships that a lot of people probably don't understand, so I'm going to try to explain that all in this video. So let's talk about base riding first. Base riding is for people that don't finish very high in the previous season. So they're going to be better off building up defenses, building up their base slower than another person that's going to be tech riding is what we call it. They have a ton of keys off the start. They're able to get to what's really good. Say for example, bombardiers are available right after the 4th engine, right? So someone that has a lot of keys, they're probably going to be better off by skipping some defenses, getting to those bombardiers first and quickly before a lot of other people have them. They're going to be able to push up faster that way. Now, if you don't have a lot of keys, that same strategy can work against you, because if you don't have a lot of keys and you're just skipping all the defenses and you're trying to get to bombardiers, but you're just grinding out chests 8 hours at a time, you're not. By the time you get them, everybody else already has them, and they've got a solid defense built up at that point as well, which you don't, because you skipped everything trying to ride out the tech in the tech tree is how we call it. So. It can definitely work against you unless you have the keys to do it. The keys are so important in Warships. So yeah, make sure that you're doing one or the other. Typically, I think next season I'm going to focus more on base riding. I was kind of like halfway in between. Last season I was like, focusing on getting stuff unlocked right away, and then I kind of went back, started upgrading stuff, and it kind of hurt me in the end, honestly, because I wasn't upgrading, I wasn't progressing as quickly as I could have if I had just stuck to one. So yeah, that's tech riding versus base riding, and try not to flip-flop. So the next tip is to change your base layout frequently. This is kind of a no-brainer if you've been playing Warships more than a few seasons, but the base design should be changed like at minimum a couple times a week. Like it's not just as soon as you get a new engine, change around stuff in your base. It's like whenever you get new defenses, whenever the meta shifts, you kind of have to look at what you're getting hit with. Like, for example, the end of last season, just because it's fresh in my mind, there was like an anti-seeker base that was really good for a bit, and there was an anti-bomber base. And depending on what you were getting hit with, one worked really well against the other, but the anti-seeker base got crushed by bombardiers, and the anti-bomber base got crushed by seekers. So you really have to like pay attention to what you're getting hit with and what's kind of like the current meta. That kind of goes back to the first point, just be like plugged into the community and know what's kind of working at the same time. But yeah, that's definitely very important. So that's base layouts. Losing streaks. So if what we call it in like in gaming, I guess, is just like tilting. Like when you start playing really bad, you get really frustrated, you get really angry, and you start losing a lot of matches. Definitely happens to Chicken a lot. There's 3 things to look at. Number 1 is your tech tree. You might have made a mistake. You might have unlocked something that you shouldn't have unlocked, and it's preventing you from getting the next thing that everybody else has that's really good. Number 2, your attack strategy could be off, and number 3, your base defense could be not like the best one at the time. So it's either one of those 3 things. The tech tree you can't really change, but you just gotta have a good plan for it going forward, and then you'll probably be okay. But you can change up a few things in your attacks and your defenses, your defense layout, and that should be able to help you out. So the next point is to understand effective tech and when to push. This is huge. So there's some times where you unlock everything in in your tech tree, and you're still losing. And this is probably if you didn't finish very well in the last season, you're kind of getting stuff late. You might have the best stuff, you might have taken the right path, but it's just not an effective time to push because most people are ahead of you, or you're kind of stuck grinding out at your, at whatever your rank is. And, there's definitely like a good times to push and not good times to push. And it could be completely separate from whatever you're doing, just based on, times when people are playing, things like that. So try to figure out when the best time for you to push is, because it's different for everybody, and it depends a lot on your tech tree and the stuff that you have available. But yeah, if you can figure that out, like I remember last season, I always was able to push up a little bit more in the morning, which makes sense because like it's usually the earlier that you unlock stuff and start pushing, like the better off you're going to be doing. So that's kind of yeah, that's kind of the idea there. So and then the last point before we wrap it up, guys. This is pretty key. So I'm actually going to go over back to Warships for this. So knowing when to stop, when to quit, when to park is what we call it. When to park in Warships. Now look at this. Global #1 of last season, he actually he only had 347 battles fought. I had this amount of battles fought within like the first week. So he was able to like take advantage of his effective tech, effective times to push, did everything like surgically correct. And then as soon as he got to like a pretty good legendary rank, just stop playing. Because if he had kept continuing to play, he probably would have just, you know, faced people that had the same stuff as him and just gone completely downhill. So this is obviously an extreme of what I'm trying to say, but just know, like, try to have an idea of when like you're hitting a wall and it's not really getting any better. You're kind of just like struggling to maintain towards, this is like the last few days in the season kind of thing. But know when it's a good time to park. So guys, I hope that helps you out. These are definitely some points I'm going to be taking in more like serious consideration going in towards season 13, which I'm really excited for. And yeah, let me know what you think of that down below in the comments, guys. If you have any other tips, strategies, secrets, things like that, make sure to throw them down in the comments. I'll pin some really good ones so everyone can see them. And yeah, guys, if these tips helped you out, make sure you use the code check in the shop. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure to leave a like if you found it interesting, entertaining, or informative. And we'll see you next one, guys. Checking out. Back.